Welcome to today's program, The Beauty of Grace, and I'm Pastor Pete, Harvest Fellowship Church, Goldsboro, North Carolina. And it is a privilege to be able to share this message and the beauty of grace, and to be able to share our hearts with you, and to be able to come into your lives and hopefully encourage and exalt and lift you up. You know, it's God who removes your old want to and gives you a new one. And that's what we want to talk about this week. What to do when you can't do it anymore. What do you do when you just can't figure it out? You know, most of the time, that's when we really pour out our heart to God, when we've tried everything we can do, we've tried everything the doctor can do, we've tried everything life can do, and then we turn it over to the Lord and say, Lord, I'm going to trust you with it. What if we gave God it to begin with? You know, in Philippians 2:13, it says, For it is God who works in you both to will and to do for His good pleasure. I don't know about you, but have you ever tried to break a bad habit on your own? You ever tried to stop doing something that you know you'd been doing for a long period of time? Maybe it's a church member of ours one time had a smoking issue. My mother had a smoking issue, and that, from what I'm told, that's a real difficult thing to stop. I've never been a smoker, so I can't answer that. But you probably found that when you tried to stop it by your just sheer willpower, you saw improvement for a while, and then you bounce back to square one. Seems like you go for good, but we got to find out, and I believe this is what's going to help us. We got to find out what's causing the real root of the issue. You know, there's a lot of people eat a lot of food, and that is a way of them removing stress or dealing with frustration. But worse, you find yourself bringing on the very thing that you were trying not to do. In other words, you find yourself doing the very thing that you didn't want to do. And then it seems like that condition is worse than it was when you started. And then you get on that I'm going to quit program, and we make these New Year's resolutions that we're going to stop this or stop this and stop this, and the changes were temporary because it's you doing it. But we had a church member one time, and they had a real issue with cursing. And they used to believe that with willpower they could quit cursing, and they would try and they would try and they would try, and she would tell herself, if there is a will, then there's a way. But she discovered that with willpower she could not stop cursing for about a week or two, and then she would succumb right back into that thing, and that old habit of letting that temper overrise her and overcome her. But I want you to understand, when she realized and turned her life over to God and learned about God's grace, she told God, I realize that I can't stop cursing. I cannot. But you can break that habit, Lord. And every time she let out one, he would say, Lord, I'm trying to stop this. I'm trying to not curse anymore, but I cannot. But I'm trusting you. She would even say, I am still righteous because of Jesus' blood. Now I want you to think about that for a minute. That's the very opposite of what we've been taught in the body of Christ. If we're going through a difficult situation, going through a very difficult obstacle in our lives, well, just quit. If you want it too bad enough, you could quit. Well, in the very same year, all her cravings and all her desires to curse just kind of simply vanished. When asked how she succeeded, she would say, it's entirely God and none of me. It's all by His grace. This woman lost all desire to curse. That is a true transformation. Now, some of you say, well, I'm dealing with other things, smoking or drinking or whatever it may be in your life that you're dealing with. When you experience the grace of God to do for you what you cannot do, you will experience effortless and permanent change on the inside, which in turn changes your actions on the outside. You know, the Bible's very plain and tells us that God works in us to give us both the will and the ability to perform what He desires for us to desire and what He desires for us to have. It is God who removes the old want-tos and gives us new ones. And He even gives us the power to carry those things out. So brothers and sisters, I want you to look to His grace to do what you cannot able to do. Say, Lord, I can't, but you can. then what you experience will not merely be behavior modifications, but true and lasting inward transformation. What you're not able to do, He's able to do, but you got to trust Him. Willpower is not enough. If you could quit a lot of stuff, you wouldn't need God at all. But Lord knows we can't quit, but He can. So you got to trust Him in that avenue of your life, in that circumstance of your life, in that situation of your life. You got to trust Him. So today, what you're not able to do, but He can do it. You just relying on His grace to make you whole. That's the beauty of grace.